Hey freaks, geeks, and sneaks, this is Paul Acevedo from Windows Central, here with a video review of the Nyko Type Pad for Xbox One. The Type Pad is a mini keyboard that plugs into your Xbox One controller and allows you to type wirelessly. In order to accomplish this, it requires the use of a 2.4 gigahertz dongle here. Nice and tiny, can plug into any of the Xbox One's USB ports. I've plugged in the dongle. Before we plug this into the controller, let's have a look at it. Down here on the bottom, you can see it's got a sync button for syncing to the dongle. It's got a light, that's a sync indicator. Here's your original Xbox One headset jack, and here's your standard 3.5mm headset jack. So it can work with either type of headset, which is good. In order for this type of headset to work, your controller does have to already support the 3.5mm jack. Here on the back, there's a little pull-down rubber portion, and when I flip it out, I can see here is a 3.5mm headset plug. Then right here you have your standard Xbox One style one. Now, the reason you have this is for controllers that support it. In order for the headset jack down here to work, this has to plug into the controller. Now we're going to plug it in. By the way, the Type Pad needs no other power source than the controller itself. So I get it lined up here. It can be a little tricky to get this to go in. I actually had a little bit of trouble with it my first time, but it has been getting easier since then. There we go, it snapped in. That actually didn't take very long at all. Now the Type Pad is a third-party keyboard, but the big difference between it and other third-party keyboards that came before this one is that this one has a little analog stick over here on the right. Not actually analog, but it's recreating the function of the right analog stick. I can use it to move the system menus up and down, and I can use it to navigate the cursor when inputting text. It's actually pretty convenient to be able to control the cursor from down here without having to move your thumb back up there. It's not a huge thing, but certainly a convenience. As I shoot this video, the official Microsoft Chat Pad is not available yet. It's coming out in a few weeks. But I do have a picture so I can compare the keyboards a little bit and tell you some of the differences. For starters, this keyboard uses soft, rubbery keys. Big difference with the Microsoft one, which we use hard keys. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. Okay, now I'm writing a message so that I can show you some of these features. This one has a .com shortcut key. That's actually really handy for entering your email address in games that would require it, as well as when browsing the web if you were to use Internet Explorer on your Xbox One. You have an @ key, also very handy for email addresses. Here's the delete key over here. Got an enter key. That doesn't do anything because I haven't inputted text yet. Now there is a shift key, but shift does not capitalize letters. You have to use the caps lock key over here. So I hit caps lock, then letters go capital. Then when I'm done typing capital letters, I hit it again. As far as I know, that's the only way to capitalize letters, is toggling caps lock on and off. A little bit inconvenient because a lot of the time you wouldn't want caps lock on. So it'd be nice if there was a way to have it just work for one key at a time. Now the shift key, on the other hand, activates these alternate functions for the top two rows of keys. Here's exclamation mark up here for number 1. So I don't just hit shift and push that because it comes out 1. So instead, I have to hold shift and hit 1 to make exclamation mark. A little bit inconvenient because it does require 2 fingers to do that. So I'm sure it would be better if it just toggled for 1 press and then stopped. Now when we move over to 2, you'll notice something important, and that's that the alternate functions on these keys do not match up with the actual alternate function keys on a regular keyboard. 2 should be the @ symbol. Instead, it's the question mark. I suppose that is because they gave @ a dedicated key down here. However, it's a problem because question mark is something you actually type pretty frequently, so having to hit shift to do question marks is not cool. There should be a dedicated question mark button over here somewhere. Where would they put that question mark button? Well, I'd get rid of the colon button. Do you use colons all that much when you type? I have a feeling you use question mark a lot more. Then the top row of letters has several more functions. Some of these should possibly be on the top row, such as the ampersand. That should actually be number 7. But what can you do? Compared to the Microsoft Chat Pad, This keyboard does not have a way to type special characters like accented characters. The Chat Pad does do that, so you could type Spanish characters, things like that. Can't do that on this one. Not a big deal for most of us. We probably don't need to do that stuff very often, but it is a key difference. Also note, this one does not have volume or mute controls for headsets, so you would have to do those using a chat adapter headset that has built-in volume controls or through your system. Let's talk about the soft keys now. One good thing about these keys is that they glow in the dark, which can aid with visibility in low light situations. That's cool. However, the bad thing is that the repeat rate on these keys is not good. It's easy to accidentally hit a key and get multiple presses out of it just because you were pushing it down for a little bit longer than you're supposed to. It's something you can easily get used to. However, you really shouldn't have to. I don't see any reason for these keys to repeat, period. When you're typing messages on your console, there's very few instances where you need the N to repeat, the O to repeat, anything like that. So it'd be better if you just had to press it a whole separate time to get the second letter out. So Nyko really should have just disabled the key repeating feature. Again, this is not a make or break thing, but it is inconvenient. Why would you need an accessory like the Nyko Type Pad, you might be wondering? Well, that's a silly question. You would use it to input messages like I've just done. And maybe you play games that actually support keyboard input. For instance, Forza 6, Forza Horizon 2. Those games let you type in the names and descriptions of your car. Very convenient to have a keyboard to do that. And then there's some MMORPGs that support keyboards, such as Onigiri. So being able to type messages in that is also very convenient. So I definitely understand why you would want to have a keyboard on your controller at all times. It's a lot more convenient than having to reach off to a separate keyboard. Unfortunately, the Nyko Type Pad does have a few things working against it. Number one is the price. This is a $35 accessory. You can get it slightly less at Amazon, but that's the retail price. It's the exact same retail price as the Microsoft Chat Pad, which is going to be a much nicer version of the same thing. So unless the price drops on this, there's no reason to pick up the Nyko version over the Microsoft one. So in closing, the Nyko Type Pad is a decent accessory, but it's going to have a hard time competing against the official Microsoft version. I suggest that Nyko take this down to about $20. At that point, I could see choosing this over the $35 Microsoft one. Thanks for watching. Read our full review at windowscentral.com. Follow me on Twitter and Twitch. And remember, don't hate, appreciate.